Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with a cut file from the Cut Shoppe. Here's a look at the whole cut file. I just use a couple of pieces from this for my layout. So what I've done in advance is I've gone ahead and I cut out the words Zoo Day. They look like, see the blue ones there? And then this one that says, it's a jungle out there. So the blue words that say Zoo Day are the natural cut file. I added um, to that so that I could have a black border around the outside like that. So I cut the file twice. I cut it once out of the black and once out of that kind of aqua blue color. And I did the same with the other one. So I cut just the outline of the banner and I did that in black, and then I cut the actual banner in the same paper. And this paper is actually from the Shimelle collection and called Field Day. And it is about it is from, I'm sorry, the 6x8 paper pad that has they're mostly like journal spots, but there are these big pieces of 6x8 paper that have some pattern on them, but they're not like a huge pattern. And some of them have lines on them to write and that sort of thing. Well, I used that to cut that kind of aqua color because that's the color that I was looking for. And I am using, I think, pretty much except for cardstock, I think I'm pretty much only use and maybe alphas. I'm only using items from that collection. So my background paper with all the pretty stripes is from that same collection, and then some little other things that I add. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tissue paper as usual behind all three of my photos. These photos I held up earlier, so that all three of these photos came from a day that we went to the zoo, and every time we went by one of those things where you're supposed to stick your head through them and take your photo, B insisted that we do that, and so she and I did a couple of them, and then Charlie and I did one where we're supposedly holding a baby gorilla, and so I printed those three off at the same size. They're like about 2.7 by 2.7 square photos, and then that's what I decided to use kind of in a little bit of a grid design. So I've cut about a 1/4 inch from each of the four sides. I actually did a 1/2 inch from two of the sides of that background pattern paper so that I could have a black border, which I thought really helps the whole thing stand out, especially my two cut files that I used. It helps, since I used black around those, I thought black around the whole thing would be cool. So now I'm just going to go really quickly through the ephemera pack and just kind of see what I'm doing is I'm sorting like the biggest pieces here into things I might use. So there's a kind of I'm definitely not going to use pile, I might use pile, and I'm sticking it on right now pile. So I really like the little tickets, and I end up using those that I have right now underneath the word Zoo Day, and then I pull a few other things that I think I might use, and then push everything else aside. I played with the idea of maybe doing a whole bunch of circles on the page, but then I just decided, nah, I really like these tickets and I want to incorporate those in some way. So I end up doing that. So now I'm going to slow things down here a little bit and figure out what I want to or how I want to embellish. So I'm going through the things that I thought were maybes, and I'm pulling out the ones that are for sures and putting the other ones aside at this point. And that is pretty much my process when I'm working with a complete collection, is I just pull out those ephemera pieces and I look through, pull out initially things that are like maybe and things that are definitely no, and then I move on. So now I'm trying to decide, I know I want to put some layers behind my photos in some way, and maybe even behind the words Zoo Day. Because the stripes are so colorful, I love them, they're beautiful, but they're also very little wild, and my photos, I would rather have my photos be black and white, to be honest, if I'm using this much color on the page, but I didn't want these photos to be black and white. So I decided I'm going to soften that area kind of behind my photo by putting some layers on there. So this journal spot was perfect. This, I don't know what she calls it. I think it's called journaling pad, I think is what it's called. So I pulled this yellow kind of watercolor looking paper around the outsides, but then it's white in the middle. So it almost looks like it's paper that I gessoed over to create a space for my items. And I didn't have to do anything except for pull it out of the paper pad. So that's pretty awesome. So I did that. And then I'm taking little strips from some of the others and putting those behind it. I like this strip, this black and white, because it adds to the black that I have on the page. I also just like it in general because it looks like a composition notebook, which is kind of cool. And then the blue strips are from the actual same 6x8 paper that I used for the zoo day and the little banner up at the top. So I know I want to put something else up there at the top, so I'm kind of just looking through. I was thinking I would either add the date up there, or maybe add a journal spot or something like that. And so I found these couple of things and decided to throw those up there. And I really like that pop of color up there. And now I'm going to add to my title. So I didn't want just Zoo Day because I thought this was kind of, we were doing silly things. So I went ahead and grabbed some alphas that were already out on my desk. And they were black and the perfect size. And I'm trying to think what collection they're from. I feel like it's Amy Tangerine maybe. And I made the word shenanigans with that. And then I'm going to kind of mess around with the design of that here in a little bit. But the other thing that I pulled out that is from Shimelle is the I don't know, the word phrases or whatever that you see over there on my right that say explore, you rock. Because I thought I might use it. It has a lot of little bitty things like stars and circles. And I thought I might use some of those on the layout, and so I grabbed those real quick to add some pops of colors across the page. I have so much going on here that I just was trying to figure out how to lightly embellish it so that it wouldn't be like super crazy. And I wanted something I felt like it needed something inside these letters, but then I don't really like the stars. So I put them on, I take them off. I think I might have done that on and off camera a couple times. I did the circles, didn't like that. So then I think I walk away and maybe come back later and decide what I'm going to do. I find some things. So we'll see how I fix that problem in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I found 3 spots on this little line of tickets for me to glue down. The 2 ends and then the very center part. And I'm just trying to decide if I want, at this point, if I want shenanigans and zoo day and the tickets to all be down the center, or if I want things over to the right, or what I want. I can't figure out the balance of this one, and so I'm kind of moving stuff back and forth, even though I'm putting glue on it. I'm doing it as quickly as I can. So I end up deciding, and I like this choice. I ended up deciding to put shenanigans over on the right side with the tickets underneath it because I thought that looked the best. So now I walked away and I came back later, and I have gone through the ephemera again to find, because I knew there were some flowers in there. And so I grabbed this big flower grouping, and I wanted to pull off this yellow, kind of yellow-green flower. And I'm going to put that as part of my embellishments. Then on the same cluster, I found these little pink flowers. They're kind of pink, and it has kind of a red in it as well with green stems. And I fussy cut those out to also add to the letters. And then I think there was another, because there really weren't very many flowers. And I liked the way they looked with everything, because it's still kind of an element of nature, but yet it's not far out. So I went ahead and found this paper pad piece that has the same flower embellishment on it. So I'm cutting out the flower that's on that, and I'm going to add that one up at the top of the page to kind of balance all of that out. I found these banners to use, and one of them I would use for my, what do you call it? Oh, my date, or maybe a little bit of journaling, but I didn't know what I was going to use the other one for, and so I didn't have a lot of journaling that I wanted to do. So I thought putting a flower over that just adds a little pop of color, and it worked out. I like it. So now I'm just trying to decide. I need something behind the photos, and I knew I wanted to do some layering back there, but I wasn't sure how I wanted it to go. I'm also kind of lamenting a bit here because I don't have enough flowers. I feel like I could use some more flowers in here. And then I remembered as I was working on this part, I remembered that in the embellishments, there are these leaves. And I thought, well, maybe I can use those in some way. So I do that, and then I cut some more leaves off that same piece of ephemera that I've cut up already, taken the flowers off of. And then I like that a lot better. And then I go back to this paper right here, which I toyed with cutting out earlier. Don't know if you saw it flash up there. But, and I went ahead and cut out, there's 2 partial flowers on here. And I end up putting those behind my photos, so you can't tell that they're partial. It looks like they're just peeking out. And I love it. So I just kind of glued down the center parts of it. And so it almost looks like a jungle or something. So it works out really well, and it fit with the whole idea of all of these, like the safari and the elephants and all of that. So I really like how that ended up looking. So I am almost done here. I'm gluing some stuff down still. I have a few more minutes, I guess, left, but I went ahead and decided to cut that flower so it looks like it was just kind of sitting inside the zoo, the O of zoo. And, of course, I can't do a layout without adding some tangled thread. So I'll also add some tangled thread in here in a little bit. And my journaling. And I'm almost done. So just at the point, I kind of sped this up because really all I'm doing is gluing stuff down. And I'm losing things. And then I find them. That's kind of typical layout for me. If you are someone that watches my videos regularly, you'll know I usually lose my scissors or something. And yeah, tangled thread. There we go. So that's about it. I really liked working with this cut file. I'm kind of sad because this is my last layout for the Cut Shop. They announced their new Rockstar design team this last week, and it's wonderful, and I can't wait to see what everybody makes with Ashley's files. It's been so great this last year being on her team. She's wonderful and creative and kind, and has been so good to all of us on the team. So I'm really excited that I got to be a part of that, and I hope maybe someday I'll be able to be on her team again. I will obviously still use all of her cut files because I love them. So as I'm wrapping up here, I think I'm going to do a little journaling and add some of those enamel stars. They're like enamel. They're puffy stars, I guess, is what they are. And then, like every layout, I have to have at least one butterfly if the layout includes my daughter, which this one does. So I grabbed my butterfly punch, which just sits out on my table, and I went ahead and I think I punched out 3 of them and put those on the layout. And usually when I glue those down, I glue down just the center. So my papers that you see here, I purchased from the Paper Issues store. It's an online store. I'll link that information below as well. It's a small business, and I have been a part of, actually they were my very first design team that I was ever on. And once you're on, you're kind of a lifer because it's such a fun design team to be on. And I am currently doing watch parties for the Paper Issues team in their Facebook group. So I'll link that information below. I have a watch party coming up here soon, actually. And those typically aren't videos that I put on my YouTube feed, but they're a little bit longer, usually, videos. I don't do as much speeding up. So if you're interested in seeing those, then go ahead and click the link below and become a member of the Paper Issues Friends and Fans group. And there you will get to see a couple times a month at least me doing what I do, less sped up, The other thing that they do is they have a whole team of us. So at this point, there are several of us that do these, and some of us are doing them as a watch party, which mostly I am, and some are doing them actually live. So those are fun to see. So thanks a lot for stopping by. Here come the close-ups. Like I said, this was a fun one to make. Lots of color on this one, and wonderful cut files from the paper or from the Cut Shop. And I have really enjoyed my time on their design team. Thanks a lot, and I will see you again in my next video.